Number 1, find the distance if Mr. Nichols had been able to drive straight from the entrance to his campsite. So the entrance to the campsite, as you can see at the top, goes from the top down to the bottom. But he was not able to. We need to find that missing side C. So we use the two edges in order to find the missing side. Going here, it is going to be 9 squares, and here it is 12 squares. So when you set it up, you set up a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Go ahead and plug in your numbers. 9 squared plus 12 squared equals c squared. You can keep solving. 9 squared is 81. 12 squared is 144. 81 plus 144 is 225. The last step is to take the square root, and the square root of 225 is 15. So Mr. Nichols would have driven 15 miles. Make sure you showed all of your work in that problem. Number 2, how much shorter would Mr. Nichols' drive have been if he had been able to drive straight from the entrance to his campsite? Explain. So, you need to add 9 plus 12, which gives you 21. You can then subtract 21 minus 15, and you get 6. It would have been 6 miles shorter. Make sure you explain your answer. Number 3, you tie a spherical balloon that is 2 feet in diameter to a stake in the ground. The string is 15 feet long. The wind blows, and you observe that the top of the balloon is 8 feet over from the stake as shown in the diagram. What is the height B of the balloon? So we're going to take our problem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, because we have a right triangle. We plug in the values that are given, in this case 8 squared. We don't know b, but in this instance we do know c. We can go ahead and solve it. 8 squared is 64. 15 squared, oh, excuse me, I made a mistake. It's 15 plus the 2 extra feet, so it's 17 squared. Sorry. Should be 17 squared. I forgot about the 2 extra feet. 17 squared. So 8 squared is 64, 17 squared is 289. You subtract and you get 225. The square root of 225 is 15. So the height of the balloon is 15 feet. Make sure you showed all of your work in that problem. Number 4, in problem 5, the wind blows harder at the top of and the balloon is now 15 feet over the stake. What is the height of the balloon now? Draw a diagram to help you solve the problem and explain your answer. So, for our diagram, we're still going to make our right triangle, but in this case, it's now 15 feet away from the stake. We still don't know that missing height length, and we still have the 17 feet to the balloon. To solve this problem, you set it up so when you set it up, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You still plug in your answers, but now we don't know our missing a length. 15 squared is 225, 17 squared is 289, and now our missing side length, our missing height, is now the square root of 64. Because once you subtract 289 minus 225, you get 64. The square root of 64 is 8. The missing height is 8. Make sure you showed all of your work in that problem. Number 5, the perimeter of an equilateral triangle is 48 centimeters. Use estimation to find the height of the triangle to the nearest whole number. Include a sketch in your answer. So an equilateral triangle looks like this. If the perimeter is 48, that means that each side is 16. 16 plus 16 plus 16 gives you 48. To make it a right triangle, we make a line down the middle, which gives us our 90-degree angle. When you do that, you end up splitting this bottom piece into two sections of 8. That's what makes the 18. And so when you solve it, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we know one side is 8. We are missing the height length, but we know the hypotenuse c is 16. We can solve 8 squared is 64. 16 squared gives us 256. We subtract 256 minus 64 to give us 192. You take the square root of 192, which is going to give you a decimal that is about 13 point and then a big long decimal. So it's between 13 and 14. But it's closer to 14. If you were to round up, it would be closer to 14. And it does say round to the nearest whole number, so closer to 14. Make sure you showed all of your work in that problem.